Good evening. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I'm Heather Peffley, Clerk for the City of Manistee. The City Council's April 28th, 2020 work session is being conducted remotely where all members of the City Council are in separate locations and not at the City Hall Council chambers. Will be called to order by Mayor Roger Zelensky shortly. As always, this meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast on Manistee TV cable channels 189 and 190 and available at manisteetv.org. There will be no video associated with this meeting, solely audio. The reason for this is projecting video through Zoom sometimes causes a delay, which makes communication in this scenario difficult and awkward. In just a moment, we will begin individually unmuting the microphones of each member of the City Council and the City Manager. We are unmuting them individually to make sure there is no disruptive audio feedback coming from each of them. Doing so individually allows us to easily identify the source of any disruptive audio issues. Finance Director Ed Bradford is assisting me with this meeting, and you may hear his voice if we have an issue that requires his assistance. The microphones of all members of the City Council, the City Manager, and the City Clerk will always be live unless there is an audio disruption. I will now begin to unmute and check each microphone that will be live during the meeting. Councilmember Cooper, can you hear me?
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mayor Zelensky, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Councilmember Sipsick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Councilmember Szymanski, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
City Manager Thad Taylor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
As a reminder, council members, please clearly state your name before speaking. And if you can, please mute your device if possible when you are not speaking. This will help prevent disruptive audio feedback. Now that activating the microphones is complete, Mayor Roger Zelensky will call the meeting to order and will share some additional information about how this meeting and likely City Council meeting for the foreseeable future will be conducted. Mayor Zelensky, we are ready to proceed with the meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Peffley. Before we get started, I'm going to call a meeting to order, but before we get going, I would like to thank our Public Safety Director, Tim Colville, for his service to the City of Manistee. He'll be leaving us on May 1st. I want to wish him all the best and good luck for your future endeavors. Meeting comments. As an important step in preventing the spread of coronavirus 19, Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued an executive order authorizing public boards in Michigan to conduct their meetings remotely. This is a critical step to help stop the spread. All aspects of how this meeting is being run is in compliance with the Open Meetings Act as modified by the executive order and has been reviewed by the city attorney. The City of Manistee is taking various steps to do our part during this pandemic, and this is one of them. We need to keep members of the public, our city council, and city staff healthy. Therefore, no member of the public, city council, or city staff are present in the council chambers. We will now begin the work session. Work session items. Public comments on work session related items. All individuals attending the virtual work session wait in a virtual waiting room with their microphones muted. When it comes time for public comments, each person waiting in the virtual waiting room will be called individually by the city clerk by the last 4 digits of their telephone number. Individuals will be asked if they have a comment or if they wish to pass. It is very important that those getting comments have a good phone connection and no sound or noise whatsoever in the background. Televisions, all forms of audio should be muted. Otherwise, there will be a disruptive audio. If the issue cannot be corrected by the caller, we will move on to the next person in line. Please be aware of those calling that the first call Please be aware of those calling that when the first call in, the full telephone number may be visible for a period of time on the recording. Although we will work quickly to alter what's displayed so that it is just the last 4 digits of your telephone number. We will now take public comments. The work session discussion comments for those who do not have an agenda is discussion on fiscal year 2020-2021 budget and capital improvement plan. The city clerk will now take over and take public comments.
Number 7269, do you have a comment? Number 7269, do you have a comment or would you like to pass?
I do have a comment.
Please state your name and address.
Jeremy Makowski, 486 First Street.
Go ahead.
This is for the 2021 budget for the teen center. I just wanted to make it a point that I think that it's a very big concern that we are looking to eliminate funding for this particular thing in the community. Understand that the reason is that only a few kids go through by the News Advocate article that was put out, but it's much more than just children going in there. It's a seasonal thing. It's a community center. Families go in all throughout the year. It's a safe haven for children to go to after school. I personally think that it would be a very big blow to the community to eliminate the funding for this project, and I'm just voicing my opinion for those that will not.
Thank you. Number 5404, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. My name is Linda Gamash-Chick, 345 4th Avenue. I'm asking the council to please take into consideration all parts of this budget and how it affects the community, and to make the decisions wisely and in the best interest of everyone. I'm speaking in favor of the teen center and hope you keep this allocation the way it is. It's important to many people that don't come to city council or know the first thing about running a city. Most think this is an easy process. I know it is not. Please make your decisions wisely. Please do not leave out the youth. I'm also asking for that 13th police officer. We want not only the city to be safe, but also the officers that patrol during the day and night. We live in a different world than we did 5 years ago, or even last year. It's not Mayberry anymore, and we should realize that. More outsiders mean more crime. Thank you.
Number 6814, do you have a comment?
I do. This is Sheila Kaminsky, Director of the Manistee County Teen Center. And I just want to respond to Mr. Taylor about his remark that the Teen Center is a redundant service. It is not. We serve the people at Sands Park, a city park, and after school place to go. We don't organize them into games. We don't organize them in any way, but we are there to support them and keep them out of trouble. If they need us, we're there. And that's all I need to say for now. Please reconsider taking away our funding. Thank you.
Number 6739, do you have a comment?
No, thank you.
Mayor Zielinski, that is all the public comments.
Thank everyone for the public comments. We'll move on to discussion of the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget and capital improvement plan. City Manager, Mr. Taylor, and Finance Director, Ed Bradford, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Thad. At the last council meeting, council made it clear that they wanted staff to review the budget, the proposed budget, and make cuts that would allow the hiring of a 13th officer and maintain funding, the funding appropriation for the teen center. The Chief Financial Officer, Ed Bradford, put together a memo to council, or to myself, that was forwarded to council, that outlines cuts that total $84,640, which would allow the hiring of a 13th officer, as well as to restore the appropriation to the teen center. So we've done what council's asked, and we're certainly open to any questions from council.
Any questions for staff?
This is Nick Szymanski. I looked through the email that you sent, and I thought you did a very good job of coming up with the $80-some thousand to be able to keep the youth center and fund the 13th officer without stripping out something else or making such a severe cut in some other area that it could be a detriment to the community. So I thought you did very well kind of balancing the difficult cuts that you had to make.
Thank you. I would want to note that this was a collective effort of all of our department directors. And so they all took on the responsibility of looking at their budgets and seeing what they could cut that wouldn't necessarily affect operations. So we were able to spread it around as best we can, and no single department suffered unduly.
Any other comments, questions, concerns?
This is Councilmember Beaton. I just want to add that I think what the city has done, which is find the cuts, but more importantly, we had to take some money away from appropriations, and we did that fairly across the board by reducing them 10%. And I think that people need to understand that we're in a bind. They're in a bind. I understand that as well. If things loosen up later on, we can always amend the budget. So thank you for your due diligence.
Anybody else?
Yes, this is Grabowski. I see we still have that $15,000 in for that part-time blight officer that we're not giving. Is that money counted into this budget also?
Ed, do you have an answer for that?
Budget instead recommends dividing the city up into districts and having the police officers each be responsible for one district. What the budget does include, though, is $12,000 to raise one house, demolish one blighted structure.
Okay, but there's $15,000 in that was put in by the council for a part-time officer. Are we going to use that for tearing down the house, or is that going into the new budget?
So the $15,000 was allocated in the current fiscal year budget. That position was not filled. The police department has had some overtime and other costs, so probably some of those funds have been reallocated. For the proposed budget, there is no part-time blight officer, but there is $12,000 for demolition of one house.
Did that answer your question, Mr. Grabowski?
Yes, thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Mayor Zelensky, this is Jeff McCullough, if I can speak, please.
Yes. Sure, go ahead.
So I'm speaking on behalf of the Department of Public Works and in my staff. When we go through these budget processes, it takes months of every department head's efforts to put these budgets together, to carefully balance out what the needs of the community are, what the needs of each department are, and what the available revenues are so that we can balance those expenditures. I don't disagree with anything that council has discussed or has said, or the concerns that they have voiced, but I have to speak on behalf of my staff that when the council speaks out that adding officers and protecting firemen in this time when we know that we're going to have reduced revenues and are going to have to make cuts, they are extremely concerned that that means that that they will be required to give up or reduce staff or incur layoffs. And I just hope that when council is considering adopting this budget, that they're keeping all of the employees in mind. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments, concerns?
This is Councilmember Beaton. I just want to respond a little bit to Mr. McCullough's statement. I do try to keep everybody in mind when I look at the budget. I appreciate your concern, but the fact that we've been without that missing officer, it's not really an addition. It's merely filling an empty spot that we agreed to fill from 2015, and it's necessary that we fill it because it's obvious that it's a need. We will certainly be able to have not abundant, but we'll have some funds available in the reserve fund if we need to help out the DPW in any way. So I'm certain that we will be amending this budget along the way to address any critical needs. And I just wanted to reassure you that we would be thinking logically about that. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm not hearing any. I just want to make a statement, Mr. McCullough, and please pass it on to your Department of Public Works people. I consider them a essential service, like I would the police or the fire department. Without them, we would be in dire straits in a lot of situations. They're very, very important to us. I appreciate, I'm sure council does, them putting themselves out there every day to keep things running in our city, keep our infrastructure up to date. With that being said, if there is no other comments and no other changes, are we ready to take this to a vote, council? Is there anybody opposed to having on the agenda for a vote, the budget? Hearing none, Mr. Taylor, are you all set?
Yes, it'll be on the May 6th agenda for council's consideration.
Is there any other is there anything other, council, that you'd like to talk about? Hearing none, then I guess we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.